A peaceful Sunday demonstration in Boulder, Colorado, turned into a scene of terror. On June 1, 2025, individuals had gathered for a regularly scheduled event. This event was organized by the group Run for Their Lives. Their stated purpose was to advocate for the release of hostages held by Hamas. Such gatherings are a fundamental exercise of free speech. They represent a cornerstone of democratic society. The participants were there to make their voices heard on a matter of international concern. The expectation was one of peaceful assembly, not violence. This expectation was brutally shattered by an unprovoked assault, shaking the community. The attack itself was shocking in its execution and apparent premeditation. The suspect, later identified, allegedly employed crude but dangerous weaponry. Reports indicate the use of a makeshift flamethrower. An incendiary device was also reportedly thrown into the crowd of pro-Israel protesters. This action instantly transformed a peaceful protest into a scene of chaos and injury. Panic ensued as individuals scrambled for safety. The peaceful intent of the demonstrators was met with an act designed to inflict maximum harm and sow fear. The choice of weapons suggests a deliberate effort to cause severe burns and terrorize the assembled group. The victims of this horrific attack were predominantly elderly citizens. 6 individuals with ages ranging from 67 to 88 required hospitalization. Their injuries were consistent with burns. They also suffered other wounds resulting from the assault. The targeting of this specific demographic engaged in peaceful advocacy is particularly disturbing. These were community members exercising their right to protest. They were not combatants in any conflict. They were vulnerable individuals expressing a viewpoint. The nature of their injuries underscores the viciousness of the attack and the perpetrator's disregard for human life and safety. Law enforcement's response was swift once the alarm was raised. Boulder Police Chief Stephen Redfern reported that calls started flooding in around 1:26 p.m. local time. The initial reports described a man with a weapon actively setting people on fire. This immediately signaled a critical incident. Officers arriving at the scene found a chaotic situation. Multiple witnesses quickly pointed out the alleged perpetrator. The suspect was then taken into custody. He reportedly sustained only minor injuries during the incident or its immediate aftermath. The focus then shifted to securing the area and aiding the victims of this sudden violence. The individual taken into custody and accused of this heinous act is 45-year-old Mohamed Sabry Soliman. Details about his background began to emerge shortly after the incident. The focus immediately turned to his motivations and how he came to be at that protest with such violent intent. Understanding the profile of an attacker is crucial. It helps in analyzing the event and identifying potential warning signs that might have been missed. Soliman's actions, as reported, paint a picture of someone driven by a strong ideological stance. This stance apparently manifested in extreme violence against those perceived as opponents. During the attack, Soliman was reportedly heard yelling "Free Palestine." This exclamation provides a clear indication of his alleged motives. It links the assault directly to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The protest itself was pro-Israel, advocating for hostages held by Hamas. Soliman's reported cry suggests his actions were a direct, violent response to the protesters' message. This transforms the incident from a random act of violence into a politically motivated assault. It underscores the dangers of extremist ideologies spilling over into physical attacks on those with differing views. Such actions aim to silence dissent through fear. A significant point of concern and public discussion is Soliman's immigration status. According to a White House statement, Soliman is an illegal immigrant. He had reportedly overstayed his visa. Despite this, he was subsequently granted a work permit by the Biden administration. This revelation has ignited a fierce debate about immigration enforcement and national security. The granting of a work permit to an individual not legally residing in the country raises many questions. It brings to the forefront concerns about vetting processes and the potential for individuals with hostile intentions to exploit systemic loopholes. This aspect of his background is now central to the investigation. The combination of Soliman's extremist rhetoric and his immigration status creates a complex and troubling picture. How does an individual who has violated immigration law by overstaying a visa remain in the country? How do they then obtain official permission to work? These are critical questions that demand thorough answers from the authorities. The incident in Boulder is not just about the violence itself, it is also about the potential systemic failures that may have allowed Soliman to be in a position to carry out such an attack. The focus must be on preventing similar occurrences in the future by addressing these failures. The Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI) has quite predictably become involved in this case. FBI Director Patel has stated that the agency is investigating the incident as a targeted act of terrorism. This classification is significant. It moves the event beyond a simple assault or hate crime. It acknowledges the ideological motivation and the intent to instill fear in a wider population. The FBI's involvement signals the gravity of the situation. It also means that federal resources will be dedicated to uncovering the full scope of Soliman's radicalization and any potential network or support system he may have had. This investigation will be crucial for understanding the threat. The White House was compelled to issue a statement regarding Soliman's status. They confirmed that he had overstayed his visa. They also confirmed he was later granted a work permit. This admission has fueled intense criticism of current immigration policies. For many, it highlights a perceived laxity in enforcement. It raises questions about why an individual unlawfully present would be granted authorization to work. The administration's handling of immigration has been a contentious issue. This case provides a stark example for those arguing for stricter controls and more rigorous oversight of visa programs. Critics of the administration's immigration policies have been quick to react. Stephen Miller, a former White House advisor, offered a particularly sharp commentary. He stated, "The Biden admin granted the alien a visa and then, when he illegally overstayed, they gave him a work permit. No more hostile migration. Keep them out and send them back." This sentiment reflects a growing frustration among some segments of the population. They see the Boulder attack as a direct consequence of failed immigration enforcement. The incident is being used to call for significant reforms. These calls demand a tightening of borders and stricter penalties for visa overstays. Beyond the national implications, local authorities also weighed in. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser described the attack as a hate crime. This designation acknowledges the targeting of a specific group based on their perceived affiliation. Following the attack, downtown Boulder saw a significant security response. Several blocks were closed off. Bomb squads and K-9 units meticulously swept the area. This was a necessary precaution to ensure public safety. It also underscored the fear that such an attack could involve further devices or accomplices. The community was left shaken, grappling with the violence and its broader implications. The Boulder attack forces a difficult national conversation. It brings to the forefront urgent questions about national security. It also highlights the complexities of immigration screening and enforcement. How can the United States effectively vet individuals entering the country? What measures are in place to track those who overstay their visas? The case of Mohamed Soliman suggests that there are significant gaps in the current system. These gaps can be exploited by individuals with malicious intent. Addressing these vulnerabilities is not a simple task. It requires a careful balance between security concerns and the principles of an open society. The immediate response from many quarters is a call for stricter immigration enforcement. This includes more rigorous visa oversight and enhanced tracking of individuals whose legal status has expired. Commentators and policymakers are demanding to know why an individual who had violated the terms of their visa was not only still in the country, but was also granted a work permit. The argument is that robust enforcement could act as a deterrent. It could also prevent individuals who might pose a threat from remaining within the country's borders. This incident will undoubtedly fuel demands for legislative action and policy changes aimed at tightening immigration controls. However, the debate over immigration policy is rarely straightforward. There are significant considerations regarding the rights of immigrants and asylum seekers. There are also concerns about the potential for overreach in the name of national security. Crafting effective policy requires a nuanced approach. It must address legitimate security threats without unduly infringing on civil liberties or abandoning humanitarian principles. The challenge lies in creating a system that is both secure and just. This system must be capable of identifying genuine threats while treating all individuals with fairness and due process. This is a delicate balance to achieve. Ultimately, preventing future tragedies like the one in Boulder requires a multifaceted approach. Yes, policy reform is essential to address the systemic vulnerabilities exposed by this attack. Government agencies must be held accountable for their roles in immigration enforcement and security. But beyond policy, there is also a need for community resilience and vigilance. Communities must stand united against hate and extremism in all its forms. Healing from such an event takes time, It also requires a commitment to fostering an environment where peaceful expression is protected, and violence is unequivocally condemned by all.